Broadcasting from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, it's time for Executive Perspective. Executive Perspective is brought to you by Cressa, going beyond space to foster the best environment for every business. Now, here's your host, Danny Vandermaten.
Hello and welcome to Executive Perspective, a podcast series brought to you by Cressa, the world's largest company dedicated to representing occupiers of commercial real estate. At Cressa, we understand the value of business relationships, and that's why we decided to do this podcast series, where we get to sit down with business leaders and understand their perspectives. My name is Danny Vandermaten, and I'm a senior vice president here in the Atlanta office of Cressa and proud host of this show, Executive Perspective. Today, I want to welcome Jesslyn Rollins, Chief Executive Officer of Biolyte. Jesslyn, thank you so much for coming on board.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this today as we sit here and partake in some of your product. All colors are on the table, and needless to say, we're not going to suffer from being dehydrated for the next 30 to 45 minutes.
Absolutely. Maybe 30 to 45 days.
Yeah.
It's a powerful drink.
So a little bit of your background pre-Biolyte. You're from Atlanta.
Yes. Fifth generation.
How many generations?
Fifth
generation. Mm-hmm. That is so rare.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't encounter that very often at all.
That's why I say it. I feel special.
That is special. A true Atlantean. Studied theater at the University of Georgia.
Yep.
And prior to coming on board at Biolyte, you worked in staffing and recruiting here in Atlanta for about 2 years. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Anything more to add to that? Just
yes.
Probably so much more than we have time for. Yeah.
Totally. So, yes, right out of college, I was a recruiter at a small boutique recruiting firm in Atlanta. And then after that, I wanted to get back into the theater world. And so I started working at the Laughing Skull Comedy Lounge. And
awesome.
I was really interested in becoming a stand-up comedian, but I took my first class and realized in 20 minutes that I had no raw talent to be a stand-up comedian.
I can't imagine anything scarier than trying stand-up.
It was terrifying. And the owner of the Laughing Skull was like, yeah, you're not funny, but we think you'd be great at customer service. So I started checking in tickets at the Laughing Skull Comedy Lounge. And that was right around the time that Dad told me about Biolyte, because I was living at home, obviously.
Yeah, living at home. That's so funny. And gosh, comedy is one of those things where I've talked to you a couple of times, and it's funny because humor is pervasive in just the few conversations we've had, but it just sounds like a completely different challenge. Walk up to a microphone in a silent room and press the green button and just try to make people laugh. Gosh.
It's funny, in comedy, one of the things that is very much taken for granted, is if you look at a stand-up comedian on stage and they're not used to being up there, they don't know what to do with the microphone cord.
Yeah.
Typically, the microphone is like, when you see a new comedian, they're battling with the microphone.
The fidgety?
Typically the microphone is corded. And so you like see people trying to like get it out of the way, trip over it. Like it really is. So if you ever don't notice the microphone is when you are witnessing like, okay, they know what they're doing.
Got it. That's interesting. I've never heard that before.
It's a unique little piece.
Yeah. But I can imagine that just even that tryout and that short experience probably is a good arrow to have in your quiver of things that you've done and scary things that you've attempted, because compared to so many other things we do on a daily basis, that's got to be the most intimidating.
It was so intimidating because, like I said, I had no raw talent for it. I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to watch it. Yeah. I want to see greatness. And if I'm not going to be good at it, then I want to watch other people be good at it. And I've got a love and an admiration for stand-up comedians, but I am personally not talented at it.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things was like being able to pinpoint who was going to make it. Because like when you have somebody on stage that's just got it and they are owning their set and they are owning the room, there's almost nothing better.
Yeah, I agree. So that brings us to Biolyte.
Yes.
Selling tickets at the Laughing Skull to Biolyte.
Yes.
Tell us the story of Biolyte.
So here is the deal with Biolyte. So When I was in high school, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when she was going through her chemo treatments, she was so sick and so dehydrated to the point where she couldn't keep up with treatments without getting IV bags. And when they would go to give her IV bags, they couldn't find her veins. And they kept sticking her, and they just couldn't make it work. And she had to get a port. A port. Yep.
For those of us who don't know what a port is.
A port is a place in the body that they insert all of the drugs through.
Okay.
All of the IVs through.
Okay.
So rather than going through a vein, it's going through your port.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Think of it like a shipping port. Okay, you're in and you're out, and you're in and you're out.
Your point of access for all fluids and such.
And chemo and whatever.
Okay.
It was a disaster. And my family was trying everything. Sports drinks, children's rehydration products, electrolyte powders, and nothing was working to keep her hydrated. So thankfully, Mom beat cancer, which is the best part of the story.
That is.
But a few years later, my sister...
And if I can pause you right there too, sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
What was it, just because this is such a big part of the story of Biolyte,
yeah.
as I think I've heard it, what was it like for you and your family when you found out that your mom had cancer and she had to undergo chemo?
So it was just awful. So we were talking about this earlier, at skiing. So we were out in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And I vividly remember this. I was putting my makeup on in the mirror, like a long mirror. I was sitting on the floor and I was in the den because I'm the youngest sister. I'm on a cot and Mom walks in and she doesn't see me. She doesn't know that I'm there, but Dad's there. And she just bursts into tears. She had gotten the call that what they pulled was cancerous. And I'm like, I look up at her and I'm like, what's wrong? And she then breaks into even more tears because she was like, you were not supposed to see this. I had no idea that you were here.
Oh, wow.
So that was very traumatic.
That was when you found out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's burned into my memory. But like I said, we have a really strong hierarchy in my family. Like I always called my oldest sister and her friends the big girls, and I was the baby. Like I have two older sisters, and it was very like they are in charge, they are responsible, and then there's Jesslyn, and so they really shielded me from Mom's cancer. Oh. I was in 9th grade at the time, living a normal like high school freshman life. Had a boyfriend, went to PDC, went to prom, like all the things. And Mom would just show up and she was always so healthy, you know, in air quotes, looking with her scarf and her wigs. And she really tried to show up for every theater performance, everything. Yeah. And so what I was shielded from it. My oldest sister was the one who really spearheaded Mom's treatment with Dad. And that it was a lot. But when I really understood how serious this was, because I was so shielded, was when I showed up at the hospital and Mom had just gotten a double mastectomy. Ugh. And to find the lymph nodes or something like this, they plug you with blue dye. And so I walk in and Mom is looking like a Smurf, and not a good Smurf, a sick Smurf. And seeing Mama like that was just awful. So I broke down then.
This is still 9th grade.
This is still 9th grade, but she beat it. She got a double mastectomy. She got 6 rounds of chemo and she beat it. And she's still here. She's a grandmother.
Amen.
And amen. But
and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I really do. And especially just because it is such a big part of where you were about to go before I cut you off.
Well, and here's the deal. Going back to my oldest sister, she starts seeing, I think she's at like medical, like PA school or something like that. And she starts seeing her friends go to these IV hydration bars for hangovers. And she comes back in town and is like, Dad, they're going to all these IV hydration bars for hangovers. Mom couldn't keep up with treatment without getting IVs. You're an anesthesiologist. Like you are board certified in nutritional supplementation and like creating IV bags for patients to help them feel better. Do you know of a product or a gel or a a drink or a pill, something that's like an IV that somebody could take home with them. And he didn't know of anything. And he did the research and he was like, Sarah, that is an unbelievable idea for a product. So that was in 2012.
So it was your older sister, Sarah,
Yes.
seeing her friends go to IV bars
Correct.
for hangovers.
Correct.
In a conversation with your anesthesiologist dad,
Yes.
who who walked down the cancer path with his wife.
Yes.
All of these things, all of these stars aligned.
Yes.
And from that, Biolyte,
Yes.
the idea for this.
The idea for Biolyte, the IV in a bottle, was born.
Wow.
And so Biolyte today is the most powerful hydration solution you can get without a prescription. What keeps us going as a team and just me personally is reading the customer testimonials about this product. Like, hey, it's helping me through cancer. Hey, it's helping me through POTS. Hey, we just won a national championship because I didn't cramp out the whole game. Like, I'm just so incredibly grateful for your product. And that's what I keep trying to tell the team on a weekly basis. Like, we are a light in people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to keep doing. Like, this is bigger than us.
Yeah.
So it's just been extraordinary to be a part of.
And so from that conversation, this product was put together. You were selling tickets outside the Laughing Skull.
Mm-hmm.
And this had been created. What I'm drinking, this product, Bio.
Correct.
What reservations did you have when you had that conversation with your family about coming on board and getting out of selling tickets or not pursuing a career in recruiting again?
So it's funny. I had 0 reservations. Like, there was not a thought in my mind that I did not want to do this. I think the way I relate it is it's like a duck finding water for the first time. Like, I loved theater and I loved comedy, but there was always just a rub. This was entrepreneurship, building something from nothing and being a family business. Like, that had always been for my whole life off the table. My mom was a dedicated mom and my dad was a board certified anesthesiologist. Like, I have all of the genes that made him an incredible physician skipped over me. And so there was no way I was going into healthcare.
Yeah.
And so the fact that all of these things that I internally wanted, but never really brought up into my conscious headspace aligned. And I was like, let's, go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And so you answered one of the questions I was just about to ask, and it was, why did you have that feeling? And it sounds like the thrill of starting something from nothing.
Yes.
And the opportunity to partner with people you know that you love.
Yes. And here's the deal. So obviously I had passion to make this successful right off the bat. This could be my career. I could work with family. I think it's a great product, but of course I felt that way. Of course. Like, I knew that there was a lot of internal bias that I was experiencing.
Sure.
So what I did, low-hanging fruit, me and my friend's mom laid out all of the different customer profiles on flashcards. Hey, you've got sweaty occupations, you've got healthcare, you've got athletics, all of these things on note cards.
People who go to IV bars
People
after
who go
rough
to
nights.
Correct. Overindulgence or just indulgence in general. We laid all of them out. And I was, even though it had the cancer origin story, I was so intimidated by healthcare. It was like so out of reach that I didn't even know where to begin. So what was low hanging fruit was high schools. So I grew up in Atlanta, kind of full circle, being a proud Atlantan, and fifth generation. Yep, don't forget it. And I went to the Lovett School. And so I show up to Lovett, to their athletic trainer's office, with a cooler backpack full of Biolyte. I sample the product with him, and I'm like, hey, listen, I've got this IV in a bottle. First thing that I ever did was this sampling. I've got this IV in a bottle. I think it was good for dehydration because I'm learning about the product on the fly too. And I want you to try it. So I leave him samples on a Thursday. he calls me, and I remember I was in North Carolina at that place that's like the Rocky place.
I'm thinking Asheville.
Something like that.
Cashiers,
Yes.
Highlands.
Yes.
Okay.
The one with the rocks all over it.
Okay.
It's a really nice hotel. And it was fun. It was fun. But I remember exactly where I was. I was in my hotel room when he called me. And he was like, Jesslyn, where can I get more Biolyte? And I was like, you liked Biolyte? And he was like,
First thought, you actually liked it?
Yeah, no, I know. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. That's what I said. I was like, you liked Biolyte?
Yeah.
And he was like, I love Biolyte. I gave 10 of my habitual crampers on my football team 1 bottle before the game and 1 at halftime. And 9 of them did not cramp at all.
That's amazing.
And I'm
a habitual cramper.
You need
That's
this
amazing.
product.
Yeah, I do.
So that was the comment that I needed to get completely and totally obsessed with getting more comments and testimonials like that. Because even just one, I'm like, it's not enough. I want to hear it again and again. So so what I do is I print out the GHSA playoff bracket. And if you had made the top 16 in your division, I showed up to your school in Georgia with samples.
Smart.
And I had
smart.
I had a 90% close rate.
That's amazing.
And and every single time they're like, thanks, crazy lady, appreciate the drinks.
Yeah.
And then they would call me and say, you weren't kidding.
Yeah.
And that was what I needed to really fuel we've got something here.
So you already answered what I was just going to ask next. And it sounds like you knew that this was going to be a successful business because of how we'll call that trip to Love It your 5th homecoming, right?
Yeah.
Your 5th homecoming, and that call and then that strategy afterwards and all of that success that came with it. Sounds like that was enough. And so that we could place this on a timeline, when was this? 11, 12?
This was 16.
16. Okay. Just that recently. That's amazing.
The product, so 4.5 pallets of Biolyte showed up at my parents' home in Atlanta on June 16th, 2016, which is adorable because
it's a good date to remember.
It's a great date. And it was my
16,
grandmother's
16.
birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
And she told me that I was her favorite. So
4 pallets, Biolyte showing up at the house. That's how all these great stories start, but that is so cool.
Started in the garage.
So when you guys were starting, because now that's 8 years ago, and when you were developing product and testing it, took place over 2 years before then?
It took Dad and Sarah 4 years to come up with the formulation.
4 years, so in 2012.
And Dad was he laughs about this. What was the hardest thing about Biolyte wasn't coming up with the formulation. It was getting the taste right.
Yeah.
Because
Interesting.
if you cut open IV fluid, it tastes like seawater. And typically people don't like drinking seawater. And so finding a flavor that was palatable enough was very challenging. But once they got the original, the citrus, that he was so excited about it.
Citrus was the original. That was
Citrus
the original.
was the original, and that is our saltiest flavor.
Yeah.
And every single year, it's been funny, just by serendipitous accident, we have toned down the salt every single time. Not in the amount of electrolytes, because every single bottle of Biolyte has the same amount of electrolytes. It's just the way that the flavors interact that either bring the saltiness forward or pull it back.
That's interesting. And I don't really have this question queued up, but when you think of dehydration and you think of what helps dehydration, you think of what solves it. It's so interesting that salt's a component of that.
Yes.
I don't know. How do you explain that medically? Because it goes against what a lot of people, including myself, would think when you're trying to cure, you're trying to treat dehydration. Salt. What's its place in this process?
So here's the deal. You got to remember, I'm not a medical person.
Right.
So when Dad explains these things to me, I simplify it to Jesslyn speak.
That's perfect for me.
Okay, good.
I always say, just tell it to me like I'm 5 years old.
Perfect.
And it helps.
Do you remember back in middle school science class when they told us that the human body is 60% water?
Mm.
So the human body is 60% water, but it's 60% salt water. The lungs are 83% salt water.
Interesting.
Your brain and your heart are 73% salt water.
Salt water.
So when you're running low on salt water is when things start to break down. If you don't have enough salt water for your brain, you get headaches, you get fatigue, you get blurred vision.
Yeah.
Like
all the things.
All of the things. And so that is how I understand it, is thinking about us being salt water. And when you're low on salt water, you need to add more. It's like adding gas to your tank.
Interesting. Because we all just reach for regular water.
Yeah, and that's great.
Or fluids that aren't salty, right?
And no, 100%. And that is fantastic. But the thing about Biolyte that makes it so effective, and it makes it so effective to relieve discomforts of dehydration, is because it literally matches what you would find in an IV bag. The right sodium amount, the right potassium amount, the right chloride, magnesium, all of those things literally match up what's in an IV bag, which matches up what is in your body. So you are literally filling yourself up with the gas that you need when you drink a Biolyte.
Awesome. I've never had the saltwater concept explained to me. I don't remember that part of 5th grade science class.
They left it out. Salt's feeling very pushed in a corner.
Neglected and overlooked.
Yeah, and now it's, look at me.
Right, like the figures in history that we feel like are overshadowed by untrue events or other people that didn't do as great things. Yeah, like Hamilton.
Love Hamilton. I was talking about Hamilton.
Yeah.
For 3 days in a row now.
Oh, man. So you already answered a lot of this other stuff, like your long-term goals when you started Biolyte. You saw the need. And it sounds like a big part of that goal was just trying to fill that void.
100%. The product was so good. It was so good. And really, me stepping in, I wanted to create something that supported this incredible product. My whole goal with Biolyte was to build out a phenomenal company. So you had a phenomenal product, but I wanted a phenomenal team, a phenomenal company. And that has really been my role, is trying to navigate that throughout the past 8 years that I've been with the business, because it's always like, it's a compliment and it's also not a compliment to be like, oh, the product's just so good. If only this would work better. And I'm like, I want to get to a place where not only the product is so good, but the company is so efficient and excellent that it matches the excellence of the product.
So that it draws people in.
And when I say
gives people purpose.
It gives people purpose. And I'm a people person. I know that's shocking.
It's not shocking at all.
I love people. And what excellence as a company means for me is people. Like having a group of people that are motivated to come into work and do the work and be proud of the work and grow themselves alongside growing the work. That is incredibly satisfying to me. And then it's also these other pieces of business of, hey, we're growing, we are driving the revenue towards these goals. And then also we're trying to remain profitable throughout the process. So navigating that dance, navigating that balance is also a fun challenge for me as well.
And speaking of challenges, you'd already said that flavor was one of your first big challenges. It was really overcoming the saltiness.
Yep.
When you guys were starting this, what other challenges stand out in your memory as hurdles that you had to jump over, and maybe even lessons you had to learn about the industry itself, or even operational? I mean, the challenge of growing and scaling.
So that's a great question. And how much time do you have?
Just go on.
God bless.
Yeah.
There were challenge after challenge, but if you are really a true entrepreneur, you enjoy that. If you like that kind of stuff, you join the club. Like if something is put in front of me that is a challenge, I'm a sicko that's let's figure this out. And yeah, so one of the stories, early days. So no, I didn't have a business background. I had a theater background. And typically 99.9% of beverage companies have outside investment. So they get a VC, they get a partner to help drive the growth with money before they're really making money. And for us, I didn't know that was a thing. I had no idea that was a thing. I knew that Dad put money in Biolyte to make the product, but that was it. That was all we had to work with. And because of that, from 2017 to 2000 and like early 19, I was doing everything. If you had bought Biolyte, I had sold it to you, I had shipped it to you, delivered it, invoiced you or forgotten to invoice you. And it got to a point where I remember there being I had to pack 100 boxes of Biolyte, and then I had to do it the next day, and then I had to do it the next day. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this. And I am sobbing on a pallet, sobbing, completely just lost it. And my dad was like, Jesslyn, we can hire somebody. Like, we're ready. The challenge of, and then the other challenge with that was then finding that person. So you have this air quotes company that's out of my parents' barn in Canton. Like, where you're going to be working is in what we lovingly called the yurt, which was a tent wrapped in plastic to keep us warm during the winter.
Wow.
And so that's not really come and work for our great company with this great culture and all these health benefits. It was like, come and work with Jesslyn in the tent wrapped in plastic that looks like Dexter's laboratory. And you're going to work from, like she is, from sun up to sundown. And
don't you want to do this?
Don't you want to do this? Don't you want to build this company together?
Yeah.
So
there's promise, I swear.
Yeah, right. Totally. Yeah. And there were trying to find the right person. Try this, didn't work. Try this, didn't work. We went through 4 different people. I remember one of our pharmacy partners with one of the people that used to work with us calling our delivery system Hillbilly. No, it was Redneck UPS, because we had it we had Biolyte on a flatbed, and then we put a tarp over it.
Oh my gosh.
And just in case it rained.
To keep product dry.
To deliver it.
Truck.
And we had, and my family, like, we are very down to earth.
Yep.
And so we don't think anything of that. We're just like, we got to get it done. So trying to strike that balance of, I need help, but we don't have any money. And then trying to find the right people that kind of had that mindset too of, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the hard work and the challenge were key challenges that we had to face early.
I love those bootstrap stories.
They're
special.
It was like cowboy bootstraps is how I would describe it.
So I guess you answered a lot of these other questions too, but if there was a particular achievement or milestone since coming into the business that you're particularly proud of, what is it? How did you work towards it, and what impact did it have, not just on you, but Biolyte, the organization?
It's interesting.
Thinking about where you came from.
Oh, yeah.
Pallets showing up at your parents' home, storing them in Canton, shipping them on a flatbed truck to where you're at now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Biolyte has been a rocket ship, and it's been so fun to be a part of. But over the past couple of years, it's been really challenging. Like, the team has been, like, we expanded to so big, and then we had to cut back, and because we hadn't we hired before we had gotten the business.
I was just going to ask, what do you attribute that challenge to? And it sounds like
there were so many things, like lack of accountability, lack of key performance indicators, lack of management. All we knew how to do was sell. And at that point, it was challenging, because then you had to take 10 steps back to go, ooh, we are not set up for success. We don't have anybody in the company that knows how to set us up for success. And we've got to go and find those people. And we've got to maintain a good enough culture here that you don't just have everybody leave, because it was so challenging. And what I learned from that experience was, in the early days, I was in my car, I was driving, I was meeting, I was doing, it was a blast. People complain, oh, I got to be on the road. I'm like, oh my God, I got to be on the road. Let's go. Then when all of these issues started happening, and I was getting all this business advice of like, get your operations in order, get everything organized and this, that, and the other. And I just went like a hermit and focused on the business. Let's build the business internally and the structures and the organization. There was a quote, because every single week, one of our team members shares a quote and words of wisdom to the rest of the team. And Matt Campbell, who is our regional sales manager, one of them, he was like, his quote was, you can be on the right path, but if you are sitting still, you will still get run over. And
I like that.
I love that quote. God, I love that quote.
You will be run over.
You can, yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I was doing. I was so focused on the business that I wasn't driving physically, mentally, spiritually, all of the things. I wasn't driving the business forward.
You weren't looking ahead.
I wasn't looking ahead. I was looking at what we had. And it caused a lot of problems. And we navigated through those problems.
Because it sounds like what you just said earlier was that it was easy for you to grow. Easier for you to sell.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting when you said that, because I think about the evolution of a lot of businesses. And I've never developed a product and tried to manufacture and distribute it like Biolyte. But when I think about challenges and struggles, I think if you had to pick one thing to be great at and maybe try to fit the pieces together to make it all work, sales would be great. Sales would be great. And then it sounds like you guys looked inside and really tried to establish accountability, use data.
Yep.
But then, what you're just getting to now, redirect yourself to look forward again.
Yep. Another way to describe it is you have to have the right percentages of gas, brake, and glue to move, to make a business great. And at that point in time, we had an overdose of glue. We liked each other, but we were stuck together for no reason. And before, we had too much gas and we were being careless and not executing just basic offense and defense and making sure that T's were crossed and I's were dotted. And, that was providing poor customer service and all the things. And then you've got brake, which is, I think of more finance. And it doesn't have to be. Finance isn't always the brake, which I'm learning from key people on the team. But a lot of times, especially if you're really seeking profitability and trying to be measured with decisions and strategies that you're going towards and you're chasing towards, you've got to have some brake. And so we were full throttle on the sales, completely pulled it back, and we just started coasting. And we got ourselves into a mess. And we pulled ourselves out. We pulled ourselves up. And the company I'm so proud of where the company is today. And I'm so grateful to everybody that I've got an analogy about an inner tube that I may share later, but I'm so appreciative that they hung on to the inner tube.
Speaking of analogies, I love the gas, glue, brake.
Yep.
Is there one more in there? I'm forgetting. You said
No.
stick? Okay, gas, glue, brake. Yeah. I'd never heard that before.
I never learned to drive stick, so yeah, that's not in there.
Oh man, that's awesome though. So if there was one piece of advice that you could give Jesslyn in 2016, what would it be?
It would be that not all business advice is going to be a fit for you. So
That's interesting. It sounds like you got a lot of input and feedback.
Yeah.
From a lot of different places, which is great.
Right. I'm more talking about like general business rules of thumb, like delegate to elevate, always hire from within. Like I have gotten into so much shit because of listening to these tried and true pieces of business advice that are not at all applicable to the team that I have and to where we are in our stage of the company. Like, for example, you want to delegate and elevate if you have the right person in the position that you trust. Otherwise, you're going to be 6 months, 9 months, depending on how long it takes you down the road going, oh my God, this thing is completely fallen apart. Oh my God, I trusted somebody before they were really ready. I should never have delegated this. Or this is actually my unique skill set. I'm not delegating this. I don't care what my title is. I don't care how far I go up in the company. Nobody can beat me at this. And then the other one, hire from within. When you have 15 people on your team and you're looking for a leader of one of your departments, you might not have the right person on your team. And you can want to build that culture and make people feel valued and that you see their skill set. But if they are not the right person for that position, don't force it. Go and find, there was this, I'm going to mess it up, but there was this beautiful quote that a jazz artist said. And he was like, somebody asked him, they're like, how do you know what to play? And he goes, I listen to what's being played and then I play what's missing.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to one of my key people on the operations team, and I was looking for an operations manager, and she was like, really wanted the job. She really wanted the job. And I wanted to give her the job so badly, because I loved this person. I admire them. But after sleeping on it and thinking about it, and my dad's always been a big proponent of sleeping on things, which I am too. I talked to her over lunch and I was like, listen, you are so valued and you are so incredible, but I'm looking for a sound that I don't have. If you play the violin like a boss, and then this person's playing the piano and this person is playing the cello and this person's playing the flute, I'm looking for a lead singer. And I don't have that right now. And I have to go and find it. And so.
I love the analogy.
I love it too.
Arrangement.
Yeah, I love it.
It's important.
Yeah, well, and it just brings things. I'm very visual. And so I try to really, I can't help it. It's like, it's the way that I see. I see in color and pictures. And it's just that. And she stayed. And she is effing killing it. And we found the right person to manage the operations team. And then once I heard the sound, then she heard the sound. And she was like, straight up, we were missing that sound.
That's a happy ending. I didn't know if that was what was going to be the ending to that.
That was the ending.
It was the right call.
It was the right call.
And everyone's still on the bus. She's still on the bus.
She is still on the bus. The new person is still on the bus. And tell me that they're happy on the bus. So that's good.
That's success.
That's success.
That is success. You were about to, wanted to get into philosophy, but you were about to use an inner tube analogy. Let it out. Spill it.
Okay. So this is where all my numbers people just turn off the podcast and they're like, another effing analogy. I can't do it. Here's another one. Okay. Yeah. So it was my 8th year at Biolyte on June 16th, 2024. And the team got me, and I may break out in hives while I'm talking about this.
June 16th. 2024?
2024.
So 4 days ago.
4 days ago. It was my 8th year.
Just wanted to be sure.
It was my 8th year at Biolyte. And the team had gotten me the most incredible gift. It was a piece of art by an artist in Atlanta called Chandler Sherry. And what it was, a collage and mixed media all tied into this huge picture frame that had quotes from the team about special times and special memories that they had with me. And then some images of the product and awards that we have won over the years. That's all on this huge canvas.
That sounds so cool.
Oh, it's so awesome. Yeah. I'll send you a picture of it. And it means so much to me. And so when they gave me the gift, the whole company's there, virtual and in the office. And everybody who has been with us long enough knows that the past couple of years have been really rough. And so I tell everybody that, hey, listen, we have been on this inner tube together. And I feel like I've been driving this boat, and when you go to the lake, you've got an inner tube on the back of the boat. And people, you've got bumps, you go airborne, you go under, the little flaps on the side of the tube are hitting you in the face. Like it was really rough. And you had people falling, like now Biolyte is the inner tube. you had people falling off the inner tube, and you don't worry about them. They're fine. They've got their life vests on, but you had people falling off. You had people fall off and get back on. And you had people really just try and weigh it down and hold the thing together. But there were two people on the team that said this, that it stuck out to me so much. They were like, Jesslyn, I don't think that you have always been driving the ship, but now that you're driving the ship, the inner tube it's gotten stability.
Oh, that's great.
And then what
did it feel like hearing that?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it does make sense, because growing up into the company, I was relinquishing a lot of leadership to people that had been around for forever. And it was a super flat hierarchy. And at that point, I hadn't really found my voice as a leader of the company. And so I was relinquishing, hey, you grab the wheel. Hey, you grab the wheel. And then you had all these people fighting for the wheel, so to say. And so now I'm like, get the hell off my wheel. And I'm like grabbing the wheel. Mm-hmm. But another thing and I didn't picture this because I saw it more as external forces. Hey, you've got the water, you've got the choppy water, you've got the wind, you've got all the things going airborne. I never pictured this. One of the girls, I was like, I'm so appreciative for you to stay on the inner tube with me. And she was like, Jesslyn, I did my best, but there were people trying to push me off. Mm. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about the people in the company trying to push each other off.
Yeah.
And now we're getting people that are using their body weight, not to push each other off, but to hold the tube down. And we have people on the team that are linking arms going, no, we're going to keep this thing steady. Like we got it. And that's why I've got chills, just because the growth that we have seen from the team, the unitedness that we have right now, the excitement of where the direction that we're going is just the coolest thing ever. And I probably butchered that analogy, but hopefully y'all hung on.
It worked.
Okay.
Yeah, that worked. That was awesome. That's really cool. And so rewarding. I can only imagine seeing it from soup to nuts for you and your family.
It's been fun.
And everyone and everyone in the tube.
Yeah.
So the philosophical section of this conversation. And I think you would appreciate some of these questions, because if you're a fan of theater, maybe you've seen Inside the Actors Guild, that TV show from way far back.
I need to revisit it.
Okay. That's where some of these come from. Yeah. And I love some of these questions because there's no wrong answer and it's just so revealing. For you, what makes a bad day? What makes a good day a good day?
Ooh. Do you want to hear about my worst day at Biolyte ever?
Let her rip.
Okay, so in one day, I was driving to work and I call a person on the team. They tell me that they are quitting. Today is their last day. I get to the office.
Unexpectedly.
Completely.
Yeah.
No 2 weeks, no nothing.
Blindsided.
Bye. See ya. Thanks for the memories. And then I get to my office and I get another call. It's funny. I'll get to this, but I get another call crying on the phone. Jesslyn, I am so sorry to do this, but I have taken a position somewhere else. And I am like,
sky's caving in.
Okay, excellent. And then these two individuals were people that I said, because I knew how rocky it was, were people that I said I could not lose. Okay, we can piecemeal other areas. I cannot, I can't. And God has a funny way of being like, you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that same day, I had a dentist appointment.
Oh gosh. Worst day.
So I'm sitting.
Worst day. And you went? You went.
I did, because I was like, listen.
You had grounds to not go. And it would have been acceptable.
If this is going to be how the day is going to go, we're going to finish the drill. Ugh. Like figuratively and physically. And I remember sitting in the chair, and I've been going to this dentist since I was 4. And he starts working on my teeth. And they're so focused on your mouth that I think I can get away with this. I just start crying. I just start crying in the dentist chair. And because I was so sad. I loved these people. And he was like, Jesslyn, I'm so sorry, because he thought he was hurting me. And I was like, you're not hurting me. How much longer? He was like, I'll stop. We'll do this another time. And I was like, no. How much longer do you have? And he was like, I have 15 minutes left max. I go, put a timer on your phone and let's knock this thing out. Oof. And so that was the worst day. So that's what I would consider as a bad day.
A bad day, the unexpected and relationally unexpected.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And because I let them down. That's what that meant.
Right.
I let them down as their leader that they wanted to leave. And I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Startup is not for the faint-hearted.
No.
But then my best day at Biolyte, we've had a lot recently, is probably jumping on the huddle. So we've got this thing on Tuesday called the Hydration Huddle where we all circle up as a virtual team, as a headquarters team, and we just circle up, we huddle, and we talk about our why, the different cascading messages from all the departments so that we've got communication lock sync, and being able to tell the team, hey, we have landed this client.
That's fun. Isn't that fun?
It's really fun.
Boy,
it's really fun because
galvanize everyone with that kind of news.
Yes, where you're like, we are doing this together.
Mm-hmm.
We are driving this business forward. You know, we have worked on this client for 5 years, and now we just got approval that it's going in.
Yeah.
That is incredibly satisfying. And then I think a day at Biolyte every day that I am talking to somebody and introducing them to Biolyte for the first time, I have done my job every day.
Yeah.
And so I've got to be out, got to be meeting people, got to be telling them about this because we don't have the marketing budgets that so many other companies do. We can't just do a commercial or spend $100,000 a month on advertising online. Like, it is the grassroots introducing new people to this product who it can help. That's a great day at Biolyte.
Those are awesome answers. I love that. There's nothing like winning new business. And it's not winning, it's earning it.
Yes.
It's the process and
totally
everything, the 5 years that goes into that kind of news. That's great.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this, and maybe people listening do too, knowing a little bit of your background. But if you could choose another profession or industry other than what you're in right now, what would it be?
I think, and I love this answer and I hate this answer, but I think Luke Combs has a better answer than what I'm about to tell y'all. So Luke Combs said I would be doing the exact same thing. You'd never heard my name. I don't think if Biolyte existed, I have the mental capacity to be able to come up with something. Like, I'm very inventive, but I'm not an inventor. Mm-hmm. So give me something that you want to improve upon, and I love that challenge. Give me something that you want to create out of thin air.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well, that sounds
that
like
person.
what drew you in.
Yes, totally.
We're going back to the beginning of this conversation.
So that would not be my answer, as much as I respect Luke Combs' answer. My answer would be, I would be a talent agent.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think I have a knack for seeing a diamond within and finding that diamond within somebody and drawing that out and being an advocate for people. And so I'd be a talent agent for sure. And I like the rat race of entertainment. And the fun parties and the cocktails.
I would figure part of your answer would have something to do with being involved
in
that industry.
Entertainment. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So last question. Love this question. Like every question, there's no wrong answer. What do you want to hear God say when you get to the pearly gates of heaven?
This one. So I love this one.
Or what do you expect? You could go with that too.
No, not expect.
Okay, I want to hear.
What I hope he says is that you figured out what your gifts, or more what your gift was, and you did everything that you possibly could with it. And I am so proud of you for discovering what that was. You got it right. And you did amazing things with it. You did exactly what I wanted you to do.
That's a great answer. That speaks to what you drive for. You personally, but anybody that answers that question. Usually what follows is what you're working on right now. And I think for everyone that's been listening to all of this, you can hear that. So thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Executive Perspective. And Jesslyn, thank you so much for coming on board. So excited for you and this company, and really, really proud of you guys over the last And happy 8 years.
Thank you.
Because literally you're 4 days fresh from that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And for anybody that's never tried it before, click the link when you're listening to this and look up Biolyte. They come in these really cool light blue bottles, 5 different flavors. You could buy them in a couple of different places like Shell and Kroger.
Yep.
And Jesslyn, I'm missing a few. Where else?
Oh gosh. So you said Shell, you said Kroger, Publix, Ingles, QT. You can get it on Amazon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Amazon.
Yep, Amazon.
No excuse not to buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, no excuse whatsoever. We're going to be launching, for all my Texas people, we're going to be launching into H-E-B and Brookshire's here shortly.
Oh, wow.
We're also in CVS. We're in 20,000 retail locations because what we're trying to do is get this in people's hands that need it, when and where they need it. But if you're more of an e-commerce person and you prefer powders, because a lot of people are moving towards that, powders. About 3 weeks ago, we rolled out our powder format. You can get that on drinkbiolyte.com and on Amazon. And it's the exact same thing. It's just Biolyte on the go.
That's awesome. If people wanted to contact you personally, what would be the best way? If you want them to.
I would love for them to.
We ask that respecting your privacy, but if people want to reach out to you.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I'd be honored. So the best way to find me and if you want to get me excited, you will follow the Biolyte Girl on Instagram. And then you can message me.
Got it. Again, I already thanked you once, but thank you again for
you.
coming on this show and sharing these stories. Best of luck to you guys. You don't need it because you're kicking butt. And happy anniversary. And thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for joining us on Executive Perspective. This show is brought to you by Cressa, the world's largest occupier-centric commercial real estate firm offering unbiased, conflict-free advice. For more information, go to cressa.com.